What if I told you that sometimes the universe doesn't whisper softly into your ear, but instead roars like thunder, shaking the very walls of your heart? Have you ever felt that sudden jolt, that undeniable moment where life seems to demand your attention, forcing you to pause and look within? These are the moments when masks fall, when routines no longer silence the soul, and when the call for truth becomes too loud to ignore. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. You see, life has a way of confronting us, often in ways we don't expect. Sometimes it's through quiet dissatisfaction, and other times it strikes like a storm, leaving no corner of our being untouched. And in those moments, a powerful question emerges. Are you listening? Or are you still trying to drown out the noise with the comfort of distractions? Has this ever happened to you when the world feels heavy, but at the same time, there's a strange sense that it's pushing you toward a greater realization? Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might surprise you. The first truth we need to confront is simple yet profound. No one is coming to save you. It sounds harsh at first, doesn't it? We've been conditioned to wait for someone, a mentor, a leader, a partner, or even destiny itself, to pull us out of the fog we feel trapped in. But that, waiting, seductive as it may seem, is the sweetest of lies. The universe will not hand you a hero wrapped neatly in golden armor. The only true hero, capable of carrying you forward, already resides within you. The day you stop expecting rescue from the outside is the day you step into your own power. Think about it. How many times have you caught yourself hoping that someone else would solve the chaos, fix the broken pieces, or offer the answers you crave? How many times have you postponed action because you were waiting for the right sign, the perfect circumstance, or the guiding hand of another? Freedom, real freedom, begins the very moment you stop outsourcing your salvation and realize that the responsibility of your life lies in your own hands. This is where destiny stops being something abstract and starts being something you create, step by step, choice by choice. The awakening doesn't come dressed as comfort. It arrives as challenge. It shakes you to the core, reminding you that the world owes you nothing, and that your growth, your healing, your transformation cannot be delegated. No savior, no government, no distant force will walk your path for you. And though this realization can feel overwhelming at first, it is in fact the greatest liberation you will ever experience. When you stop waiting for someone to hand you the key, you discover that you've held it all along. Imagine this. What if every wound you've carried wasn't a punishment but a reminder that you're still standing in the arena, still fighting, still alive? The victim waits, expecting someone else to rewrite the story. But the wise one, the awakened one, picks up the pen and begins writing it themselves, even when every odd seems stacked against them. Hasn't life already shown you that when you stop waiting and start acting, something powerful begins to shift within? This is the first step in reclaiming your freedom, understanding that salvation is not something you wait for, it's something you embody. And once you grasp that truth, the path ahead no longer looks like an endless storm, but rather like a sea you can learn to navigate. And here's the secret. The waves will not calm down just because you ask them to. The winds won't always blow in your favor, but you don't need them to, because the strength to steer your ship has always been inside you. And yet, this is only the beginning, because once you accept that no one is coming, another challenge emerges, one that most people fail to see until it is too late. It's not just about realizing your independence, but about breaking the chains that bind you in ways so subtle you hardly recognize them. If this message is already speaking to you, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next insights we'll uncover together. Each video is designed to bring you clarity, strength, and inspiration for your own journey. Think of it as a space you can always return to for guidance and transformation. Waiting for someone to arrive and rescue you is one of the most seductive illusions the human mind creates. It feels comfortable, almost soothing, to believe that at some point a savior will appear, whether in the form of a mentor, a partner, or even a stroke of luck that changes everything. But this expectation, as sweet as it may taste, is in truth a hidden chain that binds your spirit. It keeps you still, passive, holding your breath for a miracle instead of creating one. And here lies a hidden truth that many avoid facing. Redemption is not granted. It is built step by step with your own hands, through decisions that often feel heavier than you think you can bear. The moment you let go of this illusion, something begins to shift inside you. At first, it can feel frightening, like stepping onto a vast stage without a script, realizing no one else is coming to play your part. Yet, it is in this same realization that freedom is born. Liberation is not about finding someone stronger to carry your burdens. It is about discovering that the strength to move forward was always there, quietly waiting behind the scenes of your own doubts. Pain, which once felt like an enemy, transforms into a form of training, a teacher shaping your resilience. Each wound, instead of being a punishment, becomes a reminder that you are still alive in the arena, still standing, still capable of growth. Think of the ocean for a moment. Its waves do not calm themselves just because we wish them to, and its tides do not shift according to our convenience. To live expecting life to become gentle and predictable before daring to act is like asking the sea to obey your whispers. The ocean doesn't bend to the sailor's desire, but the sailor learns to navigate, to adjust, to keep the vessel steady, even when storms rise. Life mirrors this truth. It owes you nothing, and you owe nothing back except the integrity of your journey, the authenticity of being fully present in your own path. When you stop blaming the world for its unpredictability, you begin to see that what truly matters is not the storm itself, but how you decide to respond to it. There's a transformation that takes place in your mindset when you stop bargaining with circumstances and start owning every choice. Suddenly, pain is no longer something to escape, but a signal guiding you toward your own strength. In those moments, the hero you longed for is revealed to be the very person staring back at you in the mirror. And yet, the journey does not end with recognizing this truth. It is only the beginning. Because once you understand that no external force is coming to rescue you, a deeper question emerges. How do you build a life anchored not in dependence, but in clarity, discipline, and courage? Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic and explore the invisible patterns that keep us tied down, the subtle habits and choices that look harmless on the surface, but quietly strip away our freedom and potential. Before we step further, I want to hear from you. Write in the comments, "I'm also on this path," if this resonates with you. Say it as a declaration, not just a phrase, because acknowledging it out loud is the first step in strengthening the commitment to your own journey. There comes a moment when you realize that standing firm is not about having someone to hold you up, but about making the decision, deep within, to anchor yourself in your own strength. Life is unpredictable, shifting like tides that never ask for permission, but the stability you seek will never come from circumstances or other people. It is born from the quiet and powerful choice to say, "I will not collapse," not because someone steadies me, but because I have chosen to remain upright. This shift in mindset changes everything. Suddenly, storms no longer appear as punishments, but as proving grounds for the strength you are building behind the scenes of your daily struggles. And in that space, you discover a hidden truth. Resilience is less about what happens to you and more about the posture you decide to maintain in the face of it. Happiness, too, transforms when you stop chasing it as a destination and begin living it as a posture. We have been conditioned to believe it waits at the end of some achievement, a reward that arrives only after enough effort or recognition. But what if happiness is not a distant goal, but a way of walking the path itself? Each day you have the chance to reclaim your joy by refusing to delegate it to others, by no longer saying, "I'll be happy when." Happiness, in its purest form, is not postponed. It is chosen, moment by moment, often in the silence of ordinary decisions. That choice, repeated daily, is what defines true freedom. It is not found in perfect conditions, but in the courage to embrace imperfection without letting it rob you of peace. Every time you rise after falling, every time you face what seemed unbearable and still continue, you embody the hero you once waited for. This is the quiet revelation hidden in your journey. Salvation is not something you wait to arrive from outside. It is something you create and carry within you. Each scar becomes proof of your ability to return stronger. Not because someone lifted you, but because you found the will to stand on your own. Think of the times you've stumbled and believed you couldn't go on, only to discover that you did, in fact, rise again. Those moments carry a profound impact, for they reveal that you are already capable of being the figure you once longed for. It is not about pride or glory, it is about authenticity. When you rise for yourself, you stop playing the role of the victim waiting for a savior, and instead, you step into the role of the author writing their own destiny. This is where transformation becomes visible, not in grand gestures, but in the quiet decision to continue when no one is watching. The hidden truth is that your life's power is never outside. It is behind the curtain of excuses, waiting for you to claim it. Each rise, each decision to continue, is a rehearsal for the heroism you are always meant to live. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because once you begin to stand firm, embrace happiness as a posture, and rise as your own savior, a new challenge emerges. The invisible chains that quietly bind you when you least expect it. They are subtle, disguised as comfort, and they shape the way you think, the way you act, the way you postpone the life you truly want to live. To break them requires more than strength. It demands clarity, awareness, and the courage to look honestly at the distractions you've allowed to take the throne. Before we continue, tell me in the comments, this makes sense to me. Write it as a reminder that you are aware of the shift already happening in your mindset, and that awareness is the first spark of transformation. Invisible chains are often the most difficult to break because they don't announce themselves loudly. They don't clink like metal or feel heavy on your wrists. Instead, they wrap around you quietly, disguised as choices you think you're making freely, when in reality, they're guiding you like invisible threads pulling from behind the scenes. The deepest slavery isn't to a tyrant outside of you, but to the impulses, routines, and distractions that whisper with such subtlety that you confuse them with your own will. And yet, those whispers carry an enormous impact on the way your life unfolds. The heaviest shackles you carry are not made of iron. They are forged from habits repeated so many times that they've begun to define your identity. Think of the moments you reached for your phone without thinking, scrolled endlessly through noise that left you emptier than before, or delayed a dream for the comfort of another distraction. None of these acts seem catastrophic in the moment, but they accumulate, quietly shaping the boundaries of your existence. Freedom isn't stolen from you by poverty or even by pain. It is stolen by the impulses you fail to question, the decisions you allow to run on autopilot, the small escapes you treat as harmless, but that slowly strip away your clarity. Distractions are particularly deceptive because they wear the mask of comfort. They soothe you when you feel restless. They occupy you when silence feels unbearable, and they promise temporary relief in exchange for your long-term growth. The need for approval, the constant craving for validation, the endless chase for novelty, they don't look like chains, but they are. They build invisible walls that separate you from your own potential. Each time you give in to them, your soul steps a little further away from its true purpose, numbing itself with anesthetics instead of embracing awareness. This is one of the most dangerous hidden truths of our journey, that the things you believe are helping you cope may actually be holding you captive. Behind the scenes of every distraction lies the same pattern, the avoidance of discomfort. We seek noise to drown out silence because silence reveals too much. We seek constant entertainment because facing our inner emptiness feels unbearable. And yet, in avoiding discomfort, we surrender the very strength that could liberate us. True transformation requires the opposite. It asks you to sit in silence, to face your restlessness, to allow the unease to teach you what you've been running from. When you begin to see this clearly, a shift takes place in your mindset. You recognize that breaking these chains doesn't come from rejecting pleasure or joy, but from refusing to let them rule your life. Pleasure can be a guest, but never the master of your decisions. Once you understand that, you reclaim the authority to decide what serves your journey and what merely distracts you from it. Each time you resist the impulse to numb yourself, each time you replace a habit of avoidance with a conscious decision, you are loosening the invisible shackles that once held you bound. This is not easy, and it is not meant to be. Every chain you break reveals another layer of yourself, another hidden truth you've ignored. But the process itself is what shapes you into someone unshakable, someone no longer at the mercy of fleeting impulses. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because once you start seeing these distractions for what they are, another challenge emerges: how to confront them with awareness instead of running from them, and how to use them as tools for growth instead of prisons of comfort. And before we move forward, I want you to pause for a moment and reflect. If this resonates with you, write in the comments, "I see the chains." Say it not just as words, but as recognition of the hidden patterns you're beginning to uncover within yourself. Pleasure in itself is not the enemy. It can bring beauty, sweetness, and moments of genuine rest into life. But the moment pleasure climbs onto the throne and then begins to dictate your every move, it turns from a gift into a tyrant. This is the hidden truth many overlook. The danger isn't in enjoying pleasure, but in allowing it to rule your decisions. When comfort becomes your compass, it sabotages your growth behind the scenes, demanding more and more while giving you less and less in return. What starts as a small indulgence becomes dependency, and dependency is just another chain disguised as freedom. Think about how often you've postponed something important for just a moment of ease. "I'll start tomorrow," you say. "I deserve a break," you whisper. Those moments feel harmless, even justified, but the impact of these small, repeated choices accumulates silently. Day after day, they weave a web that keeps you exactly where you are. This is how mediocrity builds itself, not in catastrophic failures, but in the tiny decisions where you choose comfort over courage. Trading dreams for temporary relief is the quiet surrender that most people don't even notice they're making. Yet, every postponed action is a brick in the walls of a prison you build with your own hands. The weight of this realization can feel heavy at first, but hidden within it is the key to transformation. The real power is not in denying pleasure completely, nor in trying to live like a stone untouched by desire. The real power is in self-mastery, in the ability to look desire directly in the eye and choose not to obey it. Imagine standing face to face with your impulses, the craving for distraction, the call of comfort, the temptation to delay, and instead of falling into them automatically, you pause. In that pause lies the entire difference between slavery and freedom. That pause is where your authority begins. This is not about repression. It is about clarity. The moment you realize you can desire something and yet choose not to be commanded by it, you step into a strength that few ever experience. Freedom does not mean the absence of cravings, fears, or impulses. It means refusing to let them steer the direction of your journey. This mindset shifts everything. Suddenly, you are no longer a passenger being carried by unseen currents. You are the one holding the wheel, even if the winds still blow against you. And here is the revelation. When you practice self-mastery, you discover a new layer of identity hidden behind the desires you once thought defined you. You are not your cravings. You are not your impulses. You are the one who decides. That decision is where transformation takes root. Each act of resistance, each choice to stand firm instead of yielding, strengthens your will like a muscle. Slowly, the chains that once felt unbreakable begin to weaken, and you realize that the prison door was never locked. It only required the courage to push it open. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because once you begin to taste the strength of self-mastery, life reveals an even more profound challenge: learning to replace impulse with intention and automatic reaction with conscious choice. This is the hidden architecture of freedom, and it is built in the moments no one sees, in the decisions you make when no one is watching. Before we move forward, I invite you to write in the comments, "I choose clarity." Put it down as a reminder that you are not bound to your impulses, but capable of directing them with purpose and awareness. The perfect moment is one of the greatest illusions we tell ourselves. It whispers, with a convincing voice, promising that if we just wait a little longer, if we plan a little more, if we prepare until every detail aligns, then everything will fall into place. But this hidden truth cannot be ignored, that perfect alignment never comes. Life doesn't wait for your confidence, your certainty, or your sense of control. And if you keep postponing action until everything feels safe, you'll spend your entire journey watching from the sidelines while others are already in motion. Perfection is nothing more than a mirage shimmering in the distance. It looks attainable, but the closer you walk toward it, the further it retreats. You make lists, you polish ideas, you imagine flawless outcomes. But while you wait for conditions to become ideal, someone else takes the first step. They stumble, yes, but they stumble forward. They bleed, they fail, but they also learn and transform in the process. Growth does not reward those who wait for certainty. It rewards those who dare to act even when clarity has not yet arrived. Behind the scenes, what separates those who create impact from those who remain paralyzed isn't talent or luck, but the willingness to begin imperfectly. And this is where the hidden revelation lies. Action itself creates the confidence you thought you had to wait for. You don't need to feel ready in order to move. It is moving that makes you ready. The trembling of your hands, the racing of your heart, the doubt in your mind, none of these disqualify you. In fact, they are signs you are stepping into new territory. Courage has never been the absence of fear. It has always been the decision to take the next step, even while fear walks beside you. Those who wait to feel fearless before acting will wait forever. But those who act despite fear discover strength they never imagined was theirs. Think of how many opportunities dissolve because people keep waiting for the right season. The business idea never started because the conditions weren't perfect. The relationship never deepened because the words were never spoken. The personal transformation was delayed endlessly because the individual wanted guarantees before beginning the journey. But here's the truth. Guarantees don't exist. Life itself is uncertainty, and the only way to shape its course is to step into the unknown with integrity and intention. Each step, no matter how unsteady, generates a force of momentum that builds upon itself. This is how confidence is born, not as a gift handed to you in advance, but as the result of showing up repeatedly, even when you doubt yourself. When you shift your mindset and accept that uncertainty is part of the path, you stop negotiating with hesitation and start embracing action as the engine of your transformation. Every stumble becomes a lesson, every failure a piece of the foundation on which your strength is built. You realize that what once felt like chaos was actually the raw material of your growth. And slowly, you begin to understand that waiting for perfection was never about logic. It was about fear disguised as prudence. Once you see this hidden pattern, you no longer feel the need to wait for the right time. You create it. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because once you understand that action itself is the birthplace of confidence, a new challenge emerges. Learning how to carry fear with you without letting it take control, and how to transform uncertainty into a companion rather than an obstacle. Before we move forward, leave a reflection in the comments with the phrase, "I choose to begin." Write it as a declaration, a reminder to yourself that movement, not perfection, is where true transformation begins. Wisdom has never blossomed in the comfort of flawless conditions. It is not born in the safety of perfection, but in the cracks of imperfection, where doubt and courage collide. Think of any moment in your life that truly transformed you. Was it when everything was smooth, predictable, and neatly aligned? Or was it when you were uncertain, trembling, yet willing to take a step anyway? Greatness has always been forged in the furnace of the unknown. The hidden truth is that it is not the absence of mistakes that makes you wise, but the willingness to stumble and rise again, to allow the raw edges of imperfection to teach you what no polished plan ever could. Waiting for flawless conditions before beginning is like waiting for the sea to stand still before you sail. The moment you realize this, you start to see that the best time to live with purpose is not some distant day when the stars align, but this moment, this messy, unpredictable, imperfect now. Purpose is not a prize handed to those who have everything figured out. It is a posture you adopt, even in the middle of uncertainty. When you choose to begin with all your doubts still whispering in your ear, you discover revelation hidden behind the scenes. That clarity often comes after movement, not before it. Action generates insight, and the courage to move forward despite fear becomes the soil in which your wisdom grows. But there is another dimension to this journey that many try to avoid, and it is one of the most confronting truths of all: learning to be with yourself. Solitude terrifies people because it strips away distractions, leaving only the reflection of who you are without masks, without noise, without escape. Yet solitude is not emptiness. It is a mirror. It reflects your fears, your longings, your wounds, and your untapped strength. Those who cannot stand to be alone often drown themselves in busyness, in constant company, in endless noise, not realizing that they are running from the very encounter that could set them free. Being with yourself is not a punishment. It is a powerful practice that reveals the hidden architecture of your soul. In solitude, you hear the thoughts you've been silencing, you feel the emotions you've buried, and you confront the truths you've postponed. At first, it feels uncomfortable, even unbearable, because you are stripped of distractions. But if you stay, if you allow the silence to speak, something remarkable happens. You begin to see that within you lives a wiser, calmer, more resilient presence than you ever imagined. This is the voice that doesn't shout for attention, but waits patiently for you to stop running. Transformation begins the moment you no longer fear your own company. When you can sit with yourself without needing to numb, escape, or distract, you reclaim a level of freedom that cannot be touched by external circumstances. The impact of this realization is profound. You stop seeking validation from others because you have already met the one person whose approval truly matters: you. Solitude reveals that you are never incomplete, never lacking. What you mistook for emptiness was simply the space waiting to be filled with your own awareness. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because learning to be with yourself opens the doorway to a higher strength, the capacity to transform solitude into serenity, and to discover that peace does not come from what surrounds you, but from the posture you carry within. And before we continue, I invite you to write in the comments, "I embrace the mirror." Let it be your way of acknowledging that solitude is no longer something to fear, but a space where the revelations of your true self can finally emerge. Loneliness is often seen as an enemy, something to be avoided at all costs, but that perception hides a deeper truth. What we call loneliness is, in many cases, simply the discomfort of meeting ourselves without distractions. And when you learn to sit in that silence, without seeking escape, you discover that it is not emptiness you are facing, but wholeness. True freedom begins when you realize you no longer need noise to feel alive, no longer depend on constant validation to feel worthy, no longer require another person's presence to feel complete. The moment you make peace with your own silence, you unlock a kind of freedom that cannot be taken away by circumstances, nor influenced by the shifting opinions of others. Solitude, when embraced instead of feared, becomes one of life's greatest teachers. It strips away the illusions you use to protect yourself and reveals your hidden wounds. At first, this confrontation may feel brutal because silence has no filter. It shows you everything you've been running from. But this exposure is not cruelty. It is medicine. Solitude gives you the space to tend to your wounds with your own hands, to confront the decisions that shaped your journey, and to begin the transformation that only self-awareness can provide. Behind the scenes of every person who has built true resilience, there was a chapter of solitude where they faced themselves honestly and chose to heal instead of hide. The healing that comes from solitude is not about hardening yourself against the world, but about softening into your own truth. When you stop fearing your shadows, you stop giving them power. And when you finally allow yourself to feel without distraction, you uncover revelations that can reshape your entire mindset. You see that the cracks you once tried to cover are not weaknesses, but entry points for strength, compassion, and wisdom. This process doesn't happen in the noise of constant activity. It happens in the stillness of listening deeply to your own soul. And once you learn to be at home within yourself, something extraordinary happens. You become unshakable. The world can throw its judgments at you. People can misinterpret you. Circumstances can shift without warning, but none of it breaks your center. You carry within you a sanctuary that no external chaos can reach. This is where real power lies, not in controlling everything around you, but in mastering the posture you hold within. A person who has found this kind of peace moves differently. They no longer react to every opinion. They no longer chase every distraction, and they no longer allow fear to dictate their choices. Instead, they walk through life with a steady clarity that impacts everyone around them. This is the hidden truth about strength. It doesn't come from building walls to keep the world out, but from cultivating an inner foundation so steady that nothing can shake it. Inner peace is not fragile. It is the most unbreakable force you can carry on your journey. And once you taste it, you understand that what you once called loneliness was never a void. It was an invitation to discover yourself at a deeper level. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because the more you embrace solitude and silence, the more you realize that peace is not something you wait for. It is something you practice, moment by moment, until it becomes part of your very being. And before we continue, leave your reflection in the comments with the phrase, "I carry my sanctuary." Write it as a reminder that within you exists a place no judgment can touch and no storm can destroy. Silence is often misunderstood. To many, it feels uncomfortable, even unbearable, as if it were an empty space waiting to be filled with noise. But silence is not emptiness. It is presence. It is the doorway through which wisdom enters when all distractions finally quiet down. The moment you stop fearing silence and begin to embrace it, you discover that beneath the endless chatter of thoughts and an external noise, there is a calm, steady voice inside you, a voice that does not rush, does not demand, but simply guides. This voice is not dramatic or loud. It whispers with clarity, and once you learn to hear it, you realize it has been there all along. In silence, you don't lose yourself, you meet yourself. That is why silence is not something passive. It is an active teacher. It reveals your hidden truth, offering you glimpses of clarity that no amount of noise could ever provide. And once you recognize that this quiet space holds the answers you've been chasing in the outside world, you begin to honor it, returning to it like a sanctuary where the fog of confusion finally lifts. Silence doesn't weaken you. It strengthens your mindset by sharpening your perception and aligning you with what truly matters. It prepares you for the real transformation, the daily training of your mind. The fifth truth is one that cannot be ignored. The mind is like a garden. Left untended, it doesn't remain. Neutral, it fills with weeds. Doubts, fears, compulsions, and endless distractions grow quickly when no discipline is applied. This is the hidden truth behind why so many people feel trapped. It's not life itself that chains them, but an untrained mind that sabotages their every step. Just as a garden demands care, the mind requires attention, pruning, and cultivation. If you don't choose what grows within you, life will choose for you, and what it plants will rarely nourish your soul. This is where inner discipline becomes essential. Discipline is often mistaken for restriction, but in reality, it is liberation. A disciplined mind does not mean a rigid, joyless existence. It means you reclaim the power to direct your thoughts instead of being dragged endlessly by them. It is the difference between being carried away by the chaos of the world and being able to stand firm, clear, and unshaken in the middle of it. Cultivating discipline is not about suppressing who you are. It is about training yourself to rise above the impulses and noise that try to dictate your path. Think of the impact this shift creates. When your mind is weak, every challenge feels overwhelming, every obstacle a reason to surrender. But when your mind is strong, The same obstacles become opportunities. The same chaos becomes a test of clarity, and the same storms that once broke you turn into training grounds for resilience. Strength is not found in the absence of difficulty. It is built through the posture you choose when difficulty comes. This is why discipline is not punishment, it is preparation. It is how you transform your inner world so that the outer world no longer controls you. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because once you understand the need to train your mind daily, the real question arises: how do you cultivate it in practice? What rituals, what decisions, what daily acts of awareness become the seeds of a garden capable of sustaining your journey? That is where the path of true self-mastery begins to unfold. Before we continue, take a moment to reflect and write in the comments: I choose to cultivate my garden. This simple phrase is more than words. It's a declaration that you will no longer let weeds overrun the space where your wisdom and strength are meant to grow. Resilience is not born in a single heroic act, but in the quiet persistence of small daily challenges. It is built when you consciously choose discomfort instead of avoiding it. When you decide that growth is more important than ease. Each time you resist the urge to escape into distractions. Each time you lean into the unease instead of running from it, you forge a stronger version of yourself. These moments may appear insignificant behind the scenes of your journey, but together they form the foundation of transformation. True strength is not tested in rare moments of crisis. It is shaped in the everyday decisions where you choose intention over impulse. The hidden truth is that avoiding discomfort doesn't preserve your peace. It weakens it. The more you seek only comfort, the more fragile you become when life inevitably delivers hardship. But when you willingly embrace challenges, when you train yourself to endure temporary unease for the sake of growth, you stop fearing adversity. You begin to recognize it as a companion on your journey, a necessary force that sharpens your clarity and tests your commitment. Every small act of discipline is a rehearsal for larger trials, and every small victory becomes evidence that you are capable of far more than you once believed. But resilience is not only built by what you do, it is equally shaped by what you allow into your mind and soul. What you consume, whether through words, images, or conversations, silently shapes your mindset. The impact of this is enormous, though often overlooked. Empty content drains you, leaving you distracted, restless, and disconnected from your deeper purpose. But when you choose to feed your mind with meaning, with books that elevate, ideas that challenge, conversations that inspire you, create an inner atmosphere that supports your transformation. Consumption is never neutral. Every word, every thought, every image you expose yourself to is either building you up or breaking you down. This is why guarding your inner world is an act of dignity. Just as you would not fill your body with poison and expect health, you cannot fill your mind with chaos and expect clarity. Protecting your soul is not elitism. It is self-respect. It is recognizing that what you take in behind the scenes of your daily life has a direct impact on the decisions you make, the mindset you carry, and the person you become. And once you start treating your attention as sacred, you realize how much energy you once wasted on things that never truly mattered. Still, discipline and awareness alone are not enough to sustain transformation. Change requires structure. This is where rituals become essential. Rituals are anchors in the storm, small deliberate actions that ground you and remind you of who you are becoming. Whether it is the practice of reading something that elevates your mind, writing your reflections to organize your thoughts, or pausing in silence to reconnect with your inner compass, these are not just habits. They are sacred acts of alignment. They keep your soul steady when life tries to scatter your focus. Transformation is never a single moment of revelation. It is a series of consistent acts that slowly rewrite who you are. Rituals are the hidden architecture behind lasting change. They create a rhythm that aligns you with purpose and keep you walking steadily even when motivation fades. And in that rhythm, the seeds of resilience, clarity, and wisdom take root and grow stronger with time. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic Because once you establish these rituals and begin to fortify your soul, you uncover another challenge. The relationship between pain and growth, and how what you once resisted can actually become the very path toward your awakening. Before we continue, write in the comments the phrase, "I choose discipline." Let it serve as a reminder that your transformation is not accidental, but built daily through the choices you consciously make. Pain is one of those experiences that most people spend their lives trying to avoid. Yet it holds within it some of the most profound revelations about who we are. We've been conditioned to see it as a punishment, as something unfair or cruel, but the hidden truth is that pain is also a path. It is not there to break you, but to refine you, to strip away illusions, and to reveal the strength you didn't know you had. Behind the scenes of every transformation, pain is the fire that burns away what is unnecessary so that what is essential can emerge. To embrace it does not mean to enjoy it, but to recognize its purpose in shaping you into someone more resilient, more conscious, and more alive. Every wound, no matter how deep, is also a portal. It is an entry point into a part of yourself that you would never access if everything were easy. Hardship molds you in ways that comfort never could. When life confronts you with loss, rejection, or failure, it carves depth into your character, creating space for strength and compassion to coexist. These wounds are not simply scars. They are maps of where you have been and evidence of what you have survived. And if you look closely, you will see that each of them carries with it a lesson, a hidden truth about your journey that could not have been learned in any other way. The danger lies not in the suffering itself, but in how you choose to respond to it. Pain is universal. Every soul walking this earth will encounter it in different forms, but not every soul will allow it to become a teacher. Some let pain close their hearts, hardening them into bitterness and fear. Others allow it to open them, to teach them how to bloom even in the middle of the storm. The difference is not in what happens to you, but in the decisions you make when it arrives. You can let it chain you, convincing you that life is nothing but cruelty. Or you can let it free you, showing you that the very thing you feared can be turned into strength. This is the hidden impact of pain. It forces you to decide whether you will let it shrink your world or expand it. And the moment you choose expansion, everything changes. You stop asking, "Why me?" and begin asking, "What can this reveal to me?" That shift in mindset is what transforms suffering into growth. You begin to see that each challenge is a kind of initiation, a moment in your journey designed not to destroy you, but to prepare you for more. And once you accept that, you realize that what once felt like punishment was in fact the path to becoming the person you were always meant to be. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because once you accept that pain itself can be a teacher, another question arises. How do you move through it without losing yourself? How do you transform moments of darkness into revelations that guide you forward instead of shadows that hold you back? And before we continue, I invite you to leave your reflection in the comments with the phrase, "My wounds are portals." Write it as a way of declaring that you no longer see pain as the end of your story, but as the beginning of a deeper transformation. Every trial you go through is not just a test, it is a sculptor shaping strength you didn't know you carried. Nights of difficulty may feel endless, stretching into a silence that seems unbearable, but they are not meaningless. They carve out space within you for new light to enter. When dawn finally arrives after a long winter of the soul, you see it differently. You notice the way the sky glows, the way life breathes, the way each detail feels like a gift. Without the nights, you would never learn to appreciate the morning with such depth. Behind the scenes of every struggle is this hidden truth. Pain and darkness refine your vision, preparing you to see beauty and gratitude where others see only routine. And yet, there is a greater revelation waiting just beyond this understanding. The seventh truth: only the present exists. The past is nothing more than smoke that drifts away no matter how tightly you try to hold it. The future is nothing more than wind, elusive and untouchable, promising control it never actually gives you. The only ground that is alive beneath your feet is the now, this exact moment. This is where your journey unfolds. This is where every decision shapes your destiny. When you truly grasp that, your entire mindset shifts. You stop bargaining with the ghosts of yesterday, and you stop waiting for the promises of tomorrow. You begin to recognize that the hidden power of transformation lies in the choices you make right here. How often have you postponed your happiness, telling yourself it will come when circumstances change? I'll be happy when I achieve this, when I overcome that, when life finally gives me what I deserve. But joy cannot be postponed into a future that doesn't exist yet. It is not a prize that appears at the end of the journey. It is in the journey itself. Happiness lives in this breath, in this heartbeat, in the simple awareness that you are alive in this instant. To delay joy is to deny yourself the one thing that is always within your reach. There is an impact in realizing this truth that changes the way you experience life behind the scenes. Suddenly, the weight of the past loses its grip because you understand it cannot be relived. The anxiety of the future begins to dissolve because you recognize it cannot be controlled. What remains is the raw, unfiltered clarity of now. And in this now, you have everything you need to choose peace, to choose strength, to choose gratitude. The present moment is not small, it is infinite, because it is the only place where life actually happens. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because once you begin to embrace the present as the only real space for transformation, another hidden truth reveals itself. The way you relate to your emotions in this very moment determines whether they enslave you or empower you. Before we move forward, write in the comments the phrase, "I choose the now." Let it serve as your declaration that life is not something you are. Waiting for it is something you are living right here in this exact breath. Presence is the anchor of the soul. It grounds you when life tries to scatter your attention in 1,000 directions. Living fully in the now is like becoming a rooted tree in the middle of the storm. The winds may bend your branches, the rain may fall with force, but nothing shakes the foundation that holds you steady. This is the quiet strength that presence offers, the ability to remain centered, to resist the pull of distractions, and to experience life as it truly is, rather than as an endless projection of fear or longing. When you are present, you stop drifting aimlessly through days blurred by routine, and instead step into the vivid clarity of existence. Every sound, every breath, every thought is no longer something you rush past, but something that reveals the hidden truth of being alive. Yet presence alone is not enough if you are at war with your own emotions. This brings us to another truth. Emotions are not enemies to be silenced. They are fire, raw energy that can either illuminate or destroy, depending on how you handle them. Many people spend their lives trying to repress what they feel, pushing anger into the shadows, burying sadness under forced smiles, or ignoring fear until it paralyzes them. But repression only makes emotions stronger in the dark, twisting them into shadows that control you from behind the scenes. Mastery is not about extinguishing this inner fire, but about learning how to guide its flames. Imagine fire in its uncontrolled form. It burns, destroys, and consumes everything in its path. But fire in the hands of one who knows how to direct it becomes light, warmth, and fuel for transformation. Your emotions work the same way. Anger, when acknowledged and guided, becomes a force for justice and clarity. Fear, when understood, sharpens your awareness and teaches courage. Even sadness, when embraced, can open you to compassion and depth. This is the hidden impact of emotional mastery. It doesn't strip you of humanity. It makes you more human. Freedom lies not in avoiding emotions, but in practicing emotional discipline. It is the art of observing what arises within you without immediately reacting to it. In that small space between emotion and response, you reclaim your power. That pause is where transformation lives. You begin to see emotions not as chains but as tools, not as distractions but as signals. Instead of drowning in them, you learn to channel their energy toward growth. This discipline does not numb you, it strengthens you. It gives you the capacity to feel fully without being enslaved by what you feel. And this changes everything about the way you journey through life. When emotions no longer dictate your every reaction, you move differently. You are calmer in conflict, clearer in decisions, and more compassionate in your relationships. You are no longer tossed around by waves of mood, but guided by an inner compass that remains steady even when storms rise. Emotional discipline turns raw feeling into refined wisdom, making your inner world a source of strength rather than chaos. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because once you begin to guide your emotions, instead of repressing them, a new layer of revelation unfolds. The way you relate to destiny itself, and how acceptance of what you cannot control becomes the final anchor of inner freedom. Before we continue, write in the comments the phrase, "I master the fire." Let it be your declaration that emotions are no longer enemies to suppress, but powerful allies you are learning to guide with clarity and strength. To accept destiny is not to surrender in defeat, but to recognize the deeper rhythm that governs existence. Life does not bend itself to our every wish, and the winds will not always blow in the direction we desire. Freedom, then, is not found in trying to control the wind, but in learning to adjust the sails. This shift in mindset is transformative. The one who resists what cannot be changed becomes exhausted, bitter, always fighting battles that lead nowhere. But the one who aligns with the flow of life discovers a hidden truth, that peace is not about having everything go your way. It is about navigating wisely within what is given. This doesn't mean passivity. Acceptance is not resignation, it is awareness. It is the decision to focus your energy where it truly has impact on your responses, your choices, your posture in the face of adversity. Aligning with nature means recognizing impermanence, understanding that all things change, and letting this revelation free you from clinging to what cannot stay. When you embrace this, life stops being a constant struggle against what is inevitable and becomes a journey of presence, where every moment holds meaning because you are no longer distracted by what lies beyond your control. Behind the scenes of every transformation lies this delicate balance, knowing when to act with determination and when to yield with wisdom. The storms will come, yes, but even in them, you have a choice to be broken by resistance or strengthened by adaptation. True strength is not rigid. It is flexible, capable of bending without snapping, capable of standing tall without defying the very forces that shape existence. This is the essence of aligning with destiny, not trying to rewrite the whole of life, but learning to write your part with authenticity and courage. And once you grasp this, another truth begins to surface with undeniable clarity. Time itself is the rarest of gifts, and it is slipping away moment by moment. Life is far too short to drift aimlessly, carried by whatever current happens to pull you. To live without direction is to let your days vanish into the void of habit and distraction, leaving behind little more than echoes. But when you live with purpose, you reclaim the power of time, turning each moment into an offering, each action into a statement of who you chose to be. Purpose is not about grand gestures or the applause of the world. It is about authenticity, about making decisions aligned with your deepest values and refusing to betray yourself for comfort or approval. The hidden truth is that purpose is not something you discover outside of yourself. It is something you build through your actions, through the courage to be consistent with what your soul already knows. To live with purpose is to transform ordinary days into extraordinary expressions of meaning. Imagine for a moment the impact of a life lived in this way, not drifting, not postponing, but choosing each day to create, to serve, to leave behind traces of light that remain long after you are gone. Legacy is not carved only in monuments or achievements. It is inscribed in the lives you touch, the love you share, and the authenticity you embody. This is why time is sacred, why every breath is more valuable than we often realize. To waste it on what doesn't matter is to trade eternity for dust. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because once you begin to accept destiny and embrace the gift of time with purpose, a new question arises. How do you carry humility within this journey so that wisdom continues to expand and your growth never ends? Before we continue, leave a reflection in the comments with the phrase, "I adjust my sails." Write it as a personal reminder that while you cannot control the wind, you can always choose how to navigate your journey. If you've made it all the way here, it probably means this message resonated with something deep inside you. That's why I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel so you don't just pass by this moment, but keep receiving content that supports your own journey of clarity and transformation. And if you're still here with me, leave a comment saying, "I'm with you until the end." It's always powerful to see how many of us are walking this path together. If this conversation touched you, give the video a like. It's a simple way of showing that this exchange mattered to you. And if you want to keep going deeper, there's a video right here that complements everything we've just explored. Click and continue with me over there.